here we go then. Thanks for joining us for yet another Sunday lunch. And we've got a cracker of a guest with us this Sunday. I'm John McGilvray.
And my name's Liam Rudden, and as John will attest, we've already been laughing and joking along. It's going to be an absolute blast today. As ever, I'll be watching the Facebook feed and asking your questions. So if there's anything you would like to ask Bert Harkins, get them down on that Facebook feed and we'll ask them on your behalf. John?
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Bert, an absolute pleasure to see you and to have you along. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for asking. It's nice to be still part of the Monarchs, actually.
I think you always will be, Bert. First and foremost, how are you? And how have you been surviving this lockdown and this kind of troublesome period?
Very well, no problems. We're self-isolated, but we're lucky that we've got a country laid outside, so I can cycle up there. And, we're doing okay, no problems. Just no Speedway. That's the only thing.
Well, hopefully the EMTV rewinds are keeping your Speedway fix going for you.
Aye, that helps too, for sure.
Bert, is it something that you still feel part of the Monarchs family? Because obviously you were a big part of it and have been over the years. Is it still very special to you?
Yeah, it is, because although I'm from Glasgow, it was Edinburgh that I first started with the Monarchs, eventually getting into the team there. And although I've moved to other teams like Wembley and Wimbledon, it's still the Monarchs that I seem to be, most associated with. So I'm still quite pleased to be part of it. And part of the history, I'm afraid.
Well, we did a wee test run yesterday, didn't we, Bert? And I showed you the view out the window, which is of the building site that used to be Old Meadowbank. You must have some amazing memories of that place.
Yeah, well, when I started at Meadowbank, the only track I'd ever ridden as a novice, so I didn't realise how good the track itself was until I went south to some of the other English tracks. They were so bumpy and not quite so good. So I think even all the English riders like to come to Meadowbank because the track was quite good, it's fair, it's fast, and it was always well prepared too. Yeah.
So just noticed there that, Bert, we've got the current Edinburgh Monarchs captain, Sam Masters. He's watching along with us, so it's good to have two legendary Edinburgh captains here at the same time.
Thank you. Good luck this season, Sam. Yeah, all the best.
Well, Bert, I was obviously looking through your career in preparation for this, and I was fascinated with what you'd done, the teams you'd ridden for, the kind of experiences that you've been through. So we'll talk about kind of some of that as it goes on. But we asked a lot of the current team, how did they start, and it's all I went a track, and my dad got me a bike, and that kind of thing. How was it for you then? Where did it all start? It's like in the early 60s. How did it start for you?
It was pretty difficult in those days, actually, John, because I used to go along to I bought a very old bike from Jimmy Tannock. It was an ancient thing. I think it came out of the Ark. But I used to travel from Glasgow to Edinburgh just to try and get a ride after the meeting finished, because there was about 20 or 30 novices like me, and there'd only be like 4 in a novice race, so the rest of us would queue up and try and get out after the meeting finished. And there was one time, the caretaker, Sandy, he didn't like to stay there too long. And we're in one of these races after the meeting finished, and he put out all the track lights. So down the darkness. Lucky I went to night school, I could see in the dark. But, so how does it like that? There were no training schools at all, nothing, and you just had to hope to, persevere and keep going. And the majority of the guys that were riding with me, they all dropped out, just lost enthusiasm. And I suppose it's a wee bit of sort of Scottish grit. You just try and keep going to get where you want to be.
So how does it come about then? Obviously you head along for the second half, so the novice races, as you say, you have a skid, hopefully you win a few of them. Is it a case of hoping that of those 20 to 30, some of them disperse away, as you say, lack of enthusiasm, and a combination of that and you being good enough that these promoters say, well, I want to give this guy a chance?
It was quite hard. I mean, in those days, I had a second half, which was quite good, and that was individual racing. So you had the top riders riding against each other, and then you had the reserves against each other. Then you had a novice race. So you could progress from the novice race into the reserve race, and if you did well enough, eventually you could get into the team itself. But it's usually quite a long, hard slog, and you had to wait till someone got injured in the team before you got a chance. Yeah.
Can you remember your first match for the Monarchs, Bert? Can you remember getting that first team place?
I think the first one was I was sent down to Bradford because I believe it was Alf Wells was injured, and I rode Bradford, which was like a ploughed field. And I came back to Edinburgh thinking that was me in the team again, but it wasn't, because Alfie came back and so I was back out of the team again. So it took me about 10 years to be an overnight success.
So how long was it? Sorry, how long was it before you?
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry, but how long was it before you got back into the team after that one little tryout? Because that must have given you a taste for it, even though it was a ploughed field.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I got the occasional ride, then I kept getting dropped, and it must have taken me like 3-4 seasons before I even got in properly at reserve, and then second string. Then eventually, worked my way up. And it wasn't really until I went to Australia in the winter of 1967-68. I went out with Bill Landos, and I had a season riding at Melbourne and around there. And it gave me a whole lot more experience, and when I come back, I was a much better rider. So that really was the start of it all after Australia. So.
It was a very different game back then as well. In fact, one of the questions we've been asked to ask you, Dave Cunningham, talking about the difference between the bikes when you raced and the bikes now, which are all about speed and have less control. And in your day, it would have been more about the skill as the rider rather than the speed, I take it?
Yeah, there was a lot of, you had to have a lot of throttle control, because I started on the old Jap bike. They would pull your arms out in the middle of the corners, and you really had to work hard to get the bikes turned in the corner, because there's also dirt on the tracks too. But now with the lay-down bikes, they've got a lower centre of gravity, and the tracks are so much slicker, and the riders are complete athletes who can do things on the bike now that we could never get near at all. I mean, they're so skillful nowadays that I think the racing now is very spectacular. Before, it's quite easy to run into each other accidentally, just by picking up grip on the track. Now they're sort of hanging off the side. They're like ballerinas hanging off the side.
I'm sure they're going to love being called ballerinas.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the things.
Riders are really good. Yeah.
One of the things is kind of what I was going to say before Liam said exactly what the question I was going to ask. Rory had said last week he would love to have ridden in the 70s because it was more about finesse, and he believed that would have suited him better. I mean, I don't know who he's kidding, but was it more about finesse back then? Was it more about kind of, like you say, it's not this hanging off, it's just being a bit more precise on the bike, perhaps?
I think so, because it's hard to be precise because the tracks were deep and grippy, and you had to really work hard. If you notice now, the handlebars are all quite low and the saddles are quite high, whereas when I was riding, the saddles were low and the handlebars were high. Mm-hmm. And the idea of the wide handlebars, you could wrestle the bike in the corners much better, and you could use a bit more throttle control because you had the handlebars in the shape whereby your wrist was still quite straight, on the handlebars. So there's quite a few differences, mainly with the track surface, and the benefit also now, they've got the air fences too, so you get confidence for that.
It was funny watching the EMTV Rewind on Friday from Powder Hall, and you see the wooden fences even then, and you're thinking, It's incredible that these guys did this back then, when you just assume that the stair fences are where they are. But it's amazing how simple a speedway bike can be, but yet how much it's changed over the last kind of even 20 years, but 40, 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, they're still basically 500 cc's with like a 500cc engine and a bicycle frame practically. And when we swapped from Japs to Jawa, the Jawa was so much easier to ride than the Jap. So you couldn't give away the Jap, nobody wanted it, but now collector's items, so they're worth thousands of pounds. And it just evolves that way. And as I say now, with the lay-down engine, the better front forks too, the bikes handle so much better, but they are spinning the back wheel quite a lot, so if they do hit grip, it can take off very violently. So they've got the problems with modern bikes too.
Well, taking you back to Old Meadowbank, one of the things that always amazes me when I see photographs or I see footage from those days, the crowd are right up to the fence. They're right up, hanging over that wall, watching you race. I mean, how aware were you of the crowd back then? And, you know, when you were racing, did you see them? Could you hear them? Were you aware that they were that close?
Well, you get such a terrific atmosphere with so many people there. But on the way around to the tapes, you know, people were hanging over the fence. You could always shake hands with them. During the race, you're usually too involved with other things, so you didn't notice them. But after the race finished, you know, people were hanging over the fence. And, as I say, you could shake hands with them on the way back to the pits. And I think all that added to the atmosphere, because now you've got to be so far away from the track. You lose a bit of the sensation of speed. But if you're right down on the fence or on the centre green watching, you get the pure speed from that angle. So that helps.
That brings me to another question from David Cunningham, going back to those days. The spectacle and the show. Ian Hoskins was a great showman. Do you think his style of presentation would still work today?
It might turn out to be a wee bit old-fashioned today, but I think he would have moved with the times. And he was, as you say, he was a showman. And every week at Meadowbank, he had something different going on at the interval, whether it's a cycle speedway race or somebody jumping off of a 20-foot tower into a wet sponge or whatever.
What did you get up to back then?
He had all sorts of things. Beauty contests, you probably couldn't have that now, but you know, with everything going on, and he really entertained the crowd. He got the crowd involved with the riders and vice versa. You know, so.
And is it true, Bert, that the team would steal his hat every week and sit at a light?
I don't know how many hats he went through, but you know, every week would grab his hat, and if you poured methanol on it and set it in the fire, methanol burns very invisibly, so you don't really see the fire, so you've got to be quite careful. And used to sort of kick it around the track, but then your boots would catch fire too, so you had to be wee bit careful.
Bert, have you ever heard of health and safety?
Not in those days.
How many of the beauty contests did you win, Bert?
I think I was runner-up.
Sorry about your career, Bert. I'm absolutely fascinated about kind of where it took you. And obviously, you started at Edinburgh. Who were the big names then? Who were the people that we'd know as you break into the team? I was right beside him and him.
Yeah, Dougie Templeton was he was captain for about 10 years at Edinburgh, and he was a tough rider, so he was very good to have on your side and not on the opposition. And then obviously George Hunter was a star there too. He came, like Dougie, he came from the grass track world, and he was a natural rider. He was very fast reaction, very quick. But it'd be surprising, you could watch George sitting in the pits and he'd have a cigarette in his hand, and his hand would be shaking and his knees would be shaking, and you think, oh, I'm not going to do it. And he'd go out in the track and break the track record. So he was fantastic. Yeah.
it's amazing to think it was a very different world, wasn't it? When you see them now, and they're also aware of their health and their athleticism.
Yeah. I mean, the boys now are, as I say, they're athletes. They keep so fit and they get such good diets. I mean, I was scared to do exercises before my first race in case I tired myself out. I thought I'd be out of puff before I started my first race. Just hit my toolbox.
It's John Houston, one of our fans, has sent in a message there. He's talking about the Monarchs of Coatbridge. And he says there was 5 Scots in the team. He loved those days. Who were the Scots? What was the team like then?
Oh, the team was very good. It was like the team had moved over from Midbank. It was Dougie, George Hunter, that well-known Scotsman Ryder Hyde from Norway. And it was a good home track that had banking, a bit like Exeter. So you could go up and down the banking in the corners. So it's quite spectacular. And it's a shame that closed because it's a good track. I think it's still there. They still use it for stock cars. And Tucker John Houston, he does a very good job with the Motherwell, I think it's museum, would have a Speedway day, well, before we had the COVID virus, just to promote Speedway to the general public. So he does a good job there.
Bert, I've got a question from Andrew Jeffrey, who asks about the lack of Scottish riders today. And we could maybe tie this into a couple other questions. Are you, does it worry you, the lack of riders coming out of Scotland today? Is there a way we can change it? And also Stuart Wilson asks, if you had to put together your 1 to 7, all-time 1 to 7 Scottish riders, who would be the sort of people you would pick?
That's a good one. Yes, Stuart. I think going back over the Scottish riders, probably like Ken Kinley, Tommy Miller, George Hunter, Dougie Timpleton, obviously. And who have we got left now? It's still quite, and even up to modern days, probably have Kenny McKenna and James Graves. So there's been quite a lot of good Scottish riders, in Speedway over the years. And also with the lack of Scottish riders now, it is difficult because without having the second half events, it's very difficult for the riders to get rides and get experience. And the only way you can improve on Speedway is to ride a Speedway bike on a Speedway track. And if you're a footballer or a tennis player, you can knock a ball around anywhere at all and just get a bit of practice. But Speedway's so specialised, you can't. If you're a motocross rider, you can go and play in a field somewhere, but Speedway you've got to be on a proper track. And when there's a lack of training track, there are a few around there. But when I was riding, I think the only training school was Rye House, and that was like 400 miles away. And I couldn't afford to sort of go down there. But hopefully, with Edinburgh and Ashfield and Berwick, well, we'll get some more Scots come back into the sport. I think I think you've run in circles every so many years, you'll get some good riders coming through, because when you're talking about Scotland versus under 21, we had a full Scottish team there. As I say, even still got the programme for that. And and people like Blair Scott, Ross Brady, all these boys, James Graves, I mean, they could have gone even much further than they did, but unfortunately didn't sort of, get to the top of the game, but did very well indeed.
Yeah. There's so many of the tracks, obviously you've got the 2 up here and every other one is in England. It's difficult for the guys to get on track, and 2, if they do, it's a lot of travelling for them. Kind of brings me to my next part of your career. Signing for the Wembley Lions. That's a long way from home, Bert. So where were you staying at the time? Because you surely weren't travelling from Edinburgh to London every week for a home meeting.
No, I didn't. I travelled from Glasgow to London every week. What happened there was, I was riding in Australia, and I didn't know anything about this, that the Monarchs had closed. And I think it was only just before I came back, I got a telegram saying that the Monarchs had been transferred down to Wembley. Would I ride there? And I thought, well, I'd been there to watch World Finals, and it's quite a fantastic place to be. And I thought, it's good, bound to help my career, and I should take the offer. So I did sign for sign for Wembley, but in the beginning, I was still living in Glasgow. So I was wearing a groove up the M74, A1, and just driving up and down each week, or stopping if we've got another away meeting somewhere. But then team manager Freddie Williams, he had a big house in Harpenden, and he invited me to stay there to cut down the travelling. So that worked out quite well, because I could do my bike there and didn't quite have so far to travel. But the thing that Freddie was sort of responsible for, and I don't know if I've forgiven him yet, but he introduced me to Edith, his au pair, who is now my wife, you see. So, so he's got a lot to answer for.
And so was Bert, did they basically, was when I suppose when the licence changed, they just swapped it out from Edinburgh Coatbridge down to Wembley, and the team went with it? Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's correct. I think George Hunter didn't want to go, and I believe he went to Newcastle. But Wayne Briggs, Ryder, myself, we all went to Wembley, and it was a good move. The only problem was that having to lift some of the football pitch to put the Speedway track down, we couldn't start the season as early as the other riders could. So the second season, 1971, we didn't start our first home match till about May. We're riding home matches at Newport in Wales, so that wasn't the best idea.
Yeah.
So what sort of crowds were they getting at those stages, Bert? Because Wembley's a big old building to film.
It's very big. They didn't open the whole stadium, but the first meeting, I think they've got about 20,000 or so. So they did pretty well, and the atmosphere was very good. And the great thing with Wembley was, because of the name, people outside the sport wanted to be involved with it. So you get sponsorship from, Jaeger LeCoultre watches, and all very high-class businesses wanted to have the name with Wembley. So that was a big benefit right in there. Yeah.
And obviously Wembley. So what was the kind of success or otherwise of your time at Wembley then? What were the kind of high points from there?
I enjoyed the track, actually. Then Ove Frinden was also in the team too, so I'd always got on quite well with Ove, and would still keep in touch in these days too. But riding there, I think it helped a lot. You could get for open bookings, partly because you're Scottish and partly because you rode from Wembley. That helped, when you got the open bookings. So it was a good move for sure. And we didn't do as well as we should have done. We could have been a lot higher up the league, but I think no matter where we went, we always put on a good show and entertained the fans.
Yeah, something that John and I were talking about the other day, just wondering, and Dougie Lyles asked the question. He'd like to know how you stopped your goggles steaming up as you wore your glasses.
Quite often they were still steamed up by the time I reached the first corner.
Was that all part of the success then, Bert?
I couldn't see where I was going. That's true. No, I had some different stuff between washing up liquid, but that didn't work when it was raining because you get bubbles in your eyes. But Scott actually made a no-fog cloth and a no-fog spray, which always helped. But the problem was you had two sets, you had glasses and the goggles, so you had two lots of things to steam up. So I used to have to sort of hold my breath at the start so I didn't breathe and missed up the goggles. Once the tapes went up, I could breathe. They're
all moaning about weights on bikes and all that these days. This poor guy couldn't even see. I don't know how easy they've got it.
Yeah. Well, you see quite a few of the riders now, when you get to the start, they're lifting goggles just to let the air come through.
Yeah.
But now, a lot of the modern goggles have got anti-fog lenses, so that's a big advantage. Or even double glazed lenses. Scott had a double glazed lens, so that didn't miss at all. Yeah.
Pair of C.R. Smith goggles. So then it goes to in fact, no, there's one question that's came in that I want to ask you about, Bert, from Stuart Wilson. Have you forgiven Mike Bass for on-track fisticuffs in 1974? And if you haven't, you're a man that can hold a grudge, I tell you.
Yeah, that was a wee bit tricky. That was in Costa Mesa when we had America versus Rest of the World. And I'd broken my ribs in Australia the week before. So I didn't ride the first meeting, and then Edward Jansels, he got injured. So Barry Briggs and Ivan Major, who were running the tour, they said, you got to ride, strap everything up and ride. Anyway, I did ride, and it came down to the very last heat. And it was Zenon Pleck and myself against Mike Bass, and I think it was Danny Becker. And we needed to win that race, or to get a 3 each at least to win the whole series. And Zenon and I team rode against Mike Bass. And he kept running into a back wheel all the time because I was going so slow. And we got the 3 each. We won the meeting, we won the series. But when we come back round to the start, Mike jumped off his bike and he grabbed me round the chest and hauled me off the bike, you see. And with broken ribs, that wasn't too nice. And he was wearing a full face helmet with a visor. So he had me in a bear hug with my feet off the ground. So I lifted his visor and tried to hit him in the But all this is in the famous book that I've written anyway. But we're still friends now. He apologised later on. But the funny thing is that American Motorcycle Association, who were the organisers, they fined Mike Bass, but they fined me as well for fighting. I said, I was just defending myself. So I got fined for ungentlemanly conduct or something. And but the Costa Mesa fans were terrific. They all came down to the pits afterwards and said, very sorry this has happened. That's not the American way that we would attack somebody. So it all blew over.
Well.
For a while.
So then we move on to Sheffield Tigers, a year 1972. What was it like there? And again, who were the big names there?
Yeah, obviously Ryder was there with me too, and he did very well. And Sheffield was a very good track, very smooth, very fast. But you always needed a very good engine there. You always had to be spot on with the speed, otherwise you were left behind. And it was like a D shape as well, so it's quite tricky to ride. You had to keep turning the whole way down. It wasn't really a back straight, it was like, as I said, a D shape. Mm-hmm. But we're well looked after there by Frank Gary. He prepared the track, and the track was always perfect. And he would help you out mechanically as well. So it was good, but I only stayed there one season because after Wembley closed, I'd wanted to move to Wimbledon. But for some reason, I think they didn't want the Wembley riders to stay in London, so we all got moved to different tracks around the country. And it seemed to be almost my whole career, I've been moved like a chess piece to different tracks without really any knowledge beforehand.
Well, there's lots of messages coming in for you. Nigel Finlay says, give Bert his own show. What a hoot. Callum Slipe says, legend. Ron King, I don't know if you remember Ron King, photographer from the days of Powder Hall. Good FD Bert, how are you doing? I'm fine. And tucking into pancakes and drinking cider for lunch, or brunch even. And a wee message from Karen Jane, who says, hello, dearest Dad, you look great.
Thanks, Karen. You look not bad yourself, actually. But,
Hey, old smoothie, you. There's a question came in, Bert, from Lorraine Wells. She morning all, or now the afternoon now, right enough. I have an abiding memory of Bert, although as I was about 6, I may have imagined it. I feel it was at Hull or Newcastle, but did I see him get down onto a really wet track and attempt some breaststroke, or did I make that up? This would have been kind of mid-70s. Sounds like something you would do.
Yeah. We used to have to ride on wet tracks in those days, and you'd put on like an oversuit, a wetsuit to protect your leathers, and maybe fit a bigger front mudguard, because with Speedway you got a lot of dirt coming from the front wheel up underneath your helmet. Right. So if you fitted a longer front mudguard, that would help. So, but and extra goggles too. But obviously with glasses, it wasn't a very good idea, because some riders when you get filled in, they could take their goggles off, but I couldn't do that, or I'd damage the glasses too.
See, on that, do you ever look at something? Do you ever see these meetings in Sky or anything like a BT Sport now, and the track's a bit wet and the riders are giving it, oh, we don't know. Do you ever sit and go, honestly, boys, you have no idea what we rode in back in the day?
Yeah, we did ride in terrible conditions, but I still understand the riders today if they don't want to ride. It's such a dangerous sport, and there's so many boys are now in wheelchairs or even worse that are respected decisions. But when I always was of the opinion that we're there to try and race and to try and entertain the fans as well. So if it was at all possible, I'd try and ride. And at the time, if you got to heat 6, after heat 6, there were no refunds. That's what the promoters wanted.
And us car salesmen are dodgy. I don't know.
We used to try, if it was bad, keep going after heat 6, and make sure that the fans either got their money's worth or got a refund, whatever. So,
and in those days, it was just a case of pulling a pair of overalls on over your leathers, wasn't it, if it was wet?
Because now with the Kevlar suits, it's quite easy. You chuck them in the wash. The leathers, they get wet, and you scrub them with soapy water, then feed them with leather preserver, then try and polish them. So there's a lot of work. Apart from the bike, there's a lot of work just getting yourself ready.
And we were talking to Willie Lawson the other week, and of course he's got his new race suit and he's got tartan on it. But you did that first.
That's right. I had a set of tartan, two sets of tartan leathers made up. Well, they're yellow with a large tartan stripe down the side and on the arms. And I used those at Edinburgh and Armadale. And they're actually now in the WSRA Speedway Museum down at Paradise Park. There's a mannequin, I was going to say a dummy, but that would be too close to the truth. A mannequin with my leathers on, and my tartan helmet, and a Scottish body colour, standing beside my Java bike in the museum down in Paradise. So they're still on show, as some of my Edinburgh body colours are. So that was, look at this one here actually. So
that museum's quite
that's a
close
nice
to your heart.
The flag, yeah.
Yeah, that museum's quite close to your heart and quite important to you. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, it's we've got the World Speedway Riders Association of ex-riders, and supporters can join now too. And there's also a branch of Scotland, like members in Scotland, and they also run a dinner in February. But with the museum, we want to have a pure Speedway museum somewhere. I mean, there's other collections like Ian Patterson and so forth that are excellent, but we wanted one to be open to the public all the time. And Peter Sampson, who was a rider, and he owns Paradise Park, he gave us a block of land in the park to build this museum. And it's not all that big, but it's very comprehensive. We've got everything from dirt track Douglas bikes right up to the modern day bikes, like some of Jason Doyle's stuff as well. And there's quite a bit of Scottish stuff. There's Glasgow Tigers body colours, there's Edinburgh, there's Coatbridge, so, and Scotland. And when Jimmy Mack and I were in the World Best Pairs final with special Scottish body colours with a gold border, that is also down there in the museum. So anytime anybody is coming south, it's certainly well worth a visit, because the wildlife park itself is excellent with tigers and lions and all sorts. It's a good day out.
Bert, I wanted to ask you about, how you had the tartan and all that sort of stuff. I'm a fiercely proud Scottish guy myself, and I love the fact that you went down there with the tartan, and I've watched you seen you on the bike with the kilt for the parade and all that sort of stuff, and I eat all that up. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Did you, when you're doing it, obviously you've got a huge sense of pride. Was there ever anybody, especially when you're perhaps in England, that take the mick a bit, or with anyone, but most people like, no, that's brilliant, Bert, good on you?
Oh, most people just took it, as a bit of fun, which it was. And I had started doing that in Australia, putting the kilt on top of my leathers for the rider parade.
Yeah.
And it went down very well there, so I used the same thing in Germany and over here in England as well, and it caught on quite well. The only problem I had was one time in Liverpool in Australia, but I had the kilt on top of the leathers, and I was doing a practice start on the back straight after the introductions, and I got a bit of a wheelie, and the kilt blew up over my eyes. I was straight into and that got the big cheer in it out.
But maybe, that's something that's maybe missed, that kind of showmanship. I bet back in the day was very much appreciated by the fans, and they would have loved all that.
The problem was that, you felt a wee bit of a wee bit embarrassed sort of dressing up like that. And if you had a bad meeting, it was very bad, very embarrassing. But if you dressed like that, then you went out and rode well, then nobody complained. So.
Bert, we've got loads of messages coming in. Malcolm Lane says he remembers you from your Wimbledon days and you're top bloke. Bert Hill says it was an honour watching you race at Wembley. We've got Brett Saunders saying that you're looking good, Bert. So Brett's watching.
So you,
and Michael Purvis, who says he always found it funny, the story of you, the fact that you were born in a fire station.
That's very true, because my dad was a Glasgow fireman, and I was born in Govan Fire Station on the south side of Glasgow, and that's also how the Speedway connection came about, because White City was only couple of miles up the road, and on a Wednesday night you could hear the bikes, and my dad used to take me up there when I was a wee boy, and although I was a little Glasgow Tigers fan in those days, I grew up to be an Edinburgh Monarch, you see. But
yes.
If my dad was would take me along to Speedway, so I really got hooked from there, and that was the main thing, actually.
Did your dad ever see you ride for Edinburgh Monarchs?
I think he only saw me maybe once or twice.
And how did he feel about that, being a good Glasgow Tigers fan?
No, I didn't mind. It was okay. But because when I started, there's only Meadowbank was riding, there's nowhere else to ride. And once I did eventually get into the Monarchs, I was quite pleased, to be part of that team rather than move anywhere else. So, funnily enough, although I'm from Glasgow, I was never asked to ride for Glasgow, so I was quite happy riding for Edinburgh.
Well, their loss is our gain, Bert. So then you mentioned that you wanted to get the move to Wimbledon after you left Wembley. It didn't happen, but it did happen in 1973, and you spent 3 seasons at Wimbledon. Talk us through those days and how that was, and who the big guys were there.
Yeah, obviously Barry Briggs was the top guy at Wimbledon, and that, like Wimbledon had a great long history, and had a beautiful stadium as well, with a restaurant and glass-fronted stand, and they put on a really good show there. And the other thing with Wimbledon, a lot of the riders who lived around the London area, they would come there socially to watch and, you know, to go in the bar afterwards. So it's quite a social event as well as a racing event. You would meet different riders that you only met when you were going to their track. So, and the supporters again were quite good. Still not quite as good as the Monarch supporters, but that was it. London was a bit different, but the track also was another tricky track, and we've been talking one time recently there about tyres, and at Wimbledon, if you put on a new rear tyre, you just couldn't get any grip. You always had to run with a very old, worn-out tyre. So that suited me because I didn't need to keep buying new tyres, you see. A true Scotsman there. And also we had Tommy Jansen there, and poor Tommy, he would have been definitely world champion. He's such a talented rider. And I went to Australia with Tommy as well, and he was fantastic over there. And it's just so unfortunate that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he died in Sweden. So he could have been. I think once Tommy had died, that more or less killed Wimbledon as well, because he was such a popular rider there that everybody sort of was deflated after that. You know. So it just shows.
I think that sort of brings back the danger and the risks that you guys were taking every week, which is easy sometimes to overlook.
Well, you didn't think about it when you're riding because you're concentrating on trying to win the race or look for your partner or whatever. But the danger was always there. The other thing nowadays, as I said, with the air fences are so much safer than what we had. Also, the helmets and the body armour that the riders wear under the Kevlars, so much more technical than we had. My back protector was one that the jockeys used to wear, just like a foam piece that went down your spine, which did save me a few times. But now they're so technical that they absorb so much impact, and the helmets themselves, inside the helmets, are very technical too, with different compounds whereby it absorbs any of the shocks. So that side, it's a lot safer. The other thing I thought too, though, with the lay down engine, is someone lays the bike down, you've got a very big area of an engine and exhaust pipe. Whereas before you only had the small crankcase and a little bit of exhaust pipe. So I think when the bikes get tangled up with the rider, that's when a lot of the injuries can happen. You know, the engine actually takes up quite a lot of space there. So, but it's always a dangerous sport, and that's adds to the sport itself.
So there's become to the next bit of your career, which I'm fascinated by, Bert. And you're off to the Bakersfield Bandits in California. All right? There's only 3 reasons you're going to California, Bert. Money, the weather, and the women. So which of the 3 was it?
All of them.
Because I'm looking at that going, California in the 70s, that would have been brilliant.
It was very good, but it's quite funny because that was the year you had the hottest summer ever in the UK. That wasn't here.
And you're away.
Yeah. But how that had happened was that I used to go to California on the way to Australia every year, and I was the first British rider, never mind Scottish, first European rider to race at Costa Mesa. And each year, well, again, it's a different type of sport over there. It's like roller derby, running into each other. And the promoter, Harry Oxley, he always wanted me to come back and stay for the whole season. And I think if I'd done that, there's certainly a lot of sponsorship, a lot of money involved. I always wanted to come back to UK to try and get to the World Final. Mm-hmm. That was still the ambition. But the one year that they did open for league racing, they never had league racing before, and they asked me if I would, come over and ride for them then, and I decided to give it a try for a season. And when I got there, it's a bit like being in this country. I thought I was going to ride for Costa Mesa, but when I got there, I'd been allocated to Bakersfield. Now, Bakersfield is out in the desert, up over the mountains and down into a valley, and it used to be about 100 degrees driving there, from Los Angeles. And once you got there to race, it would cool down a bit to about 85 or 90. So you really had steamed up classes then, and it was quite physically tough, but it was a good experience. Yeah.
What was the lifestyle like there, Bert? Because like I say, mid-70s California fascinates me. What was it like living there, and the nightlife and the racing and all that sort of stuff? It must have been some experience.
It was. I mean, entirely different from Glasgow in the winter time. Sunshine, all day, every day, and even if it was cool in the morning, it would warm up by the evening, and they really enjoyed life out there. And this is why I think it's been very good that the American riders who've come over here have been able to adapt, because between the food and the weather and the different tracks and different lifestyle, quite a lot for them to give up to leave California. Because as you say, there's the sunshine, there's the beach, the surfing, and the girls as well. So the Beach Boys said, yeah. Or for you girls, yeah.
So you come back, and this is the bit of your career I think Liam's probably most excited about. It's the 77 season. It's Powder Hall. You're the captain. What was the discussions then to bring you back and to get you racing for Edinburgh?
It wasn't too difficult. When I heard that Edinburgh was reopening again, and Mike Parker got in touch with me. I thought, I've got to do that, ride for Edinburgh again. And the funny thing was, when I'd been at Edinburgh before, and then I signed for Wembley, I was going from Glasgow to London. But when Edinburgh reopened at Powder Hall rather, I was living down south. So I was driving the opposite way from London up to Edinburgh. But it was well worth it. I was very pleased to do that, and it was nice doing the full circle. It started at Edinburgh, and then almost at the end of the career was back to Edinburgh.
Brian Shaw sends us a message saying, I seem to remember on the opening night of Powder Hall, when the riders came round after the parade, someone popped a wheelie on the back straight and didn't quite manage to get the front wheel down before the corner and ended up under the third bend fence. My memory isn't so good, but it wasn't you, was it, Bert?
Hopefully not. I had learned a wee bit more by that time. I can't remember who that was, but it's quite an easy thing to happen, actually.
Now, we talked once before, and you told me a story about when you were coming up to Powder Hall, you would come up on the night train.
Yes, that's right. I'd come up in the train with my bike in the guard's van, don't have now, and somebody would pick me up at Waverley Station, we'd get to the track, and then I'd have to rush back after the meeting to get the sleeper back down to London, and then usually I'd get to King's Cross, and Edith, my wife, would be waiting there with the car and the other bike, and we'd go from there straight to Germany to ride on the Sunday and drive the whole way across. So it was good fun, entertaining. But I did also drive up to Edinburgh quite a lot too, and then sometimes stayed up there too rather than drive back.
Those first meetings when Powder Hall first opened, the crowds were phenomenal, I believe.
They were, absolutely, and the atmosphere was tremendous. It was very good because a lot of the older fans that had come from Old Meadowbank came back to see the Monarchs again at Powder Hall. And again, Powder Hall was a good stadium, nice and tidy, clean. Again, you didn't have an air fence, but the water fence wasn't too bad. It was
Now, you had a few nicknames back in the day, Bert. There was Bertola, there was Haggis. Did you have a favourite nickname?
A favourite what?
Nickname. They had their nicknames for you, Bertola and Haggis and what have you. Did you have a favourite?
Yeah, I had them all. But, it didn't matter actually. One of my friends in Glasgow actually sent me a photograph last week of the last tram car in Glasgow riding to the depot, and behind the tram car there's a giant billboard advertising sherry, and it's got Bertola cream of Spanish sherry. And that's where the name came from actually. My mum used to buy this Bertola sherry, so the name came from
right, okay.
And then the haggis along with it anyway from Australia and everywhere else. So I don't mind. It's not politically correct, so I don't mind which name I get called.
As long as it's clean, Bert, eh?
As long as the check's spelled correctly on.
Nigel Finlay is going to take us back to the 60s for a second, Bert.
Yes.
Nigel Finlay asks, can you ask Bert about the big stick-on eyes that he used to have on his crash helmet?
Yeah, that's right. That's before I had tartan on the helmets. The tartan was painted by my friend Norman Christie in Glasgow. But before that, these great big eyes, I think it was one of the petrol stations, I think it was Mercury Petrol or somebody, was giving these stick-on eyes away free of charge with the petrol. So I got a set and I put them on top of my helmet. So it looked like I had 4 eyes. I had these glasses and the eyes up here plus my goggles. So it's just something else to make it a little bit different. You know?
Bert, had the sport changed much between leaving Old Meadowbank and returning in '77 to Powder Hall? Was there a big change in the sport at that time, or was it still fairly similar?
I think it would be fairly similar, yeah. I mean, the banks were different. We're on 4-valve Jawas, for Westlakes, things like that, which accelerated a bit quicker. But basically everything else ran the same, you know, the pits were the same, and the team was pretty much the same too. So, no, it was very good. We, you know, it just followed on from one to the other. There wasn't a great deal of difference, really. And it's good to see all the old Murders fans back again supporting the team.
And then, so you're there for 3 seasons, Bert, back at Powder Hall, and then 1980 comes, and obviously I'm guessing if you're living in London still, this is a move closer to home, to Milton Keynes Knights. Once you got through all the roundabouts and got to the stadium, how was that riding at Milton Keynes then? Because that was your final year in Speedway.
It was. I would have liked to have finished at Edinburgh, but I think Mike Parker had other ideas really, and I got sort of eased out a little bit. But by that time, we'd opened a business in Berkhamsted selling motorcycle gear. That was taking up a bit more time, so I thought time I got a track nearer to home, and this was only about 40 minutes from home. So the track, quite bumpy, but it's a good track. The stadium was nice. The team were good, so it was very good. And I would have thought that a place like Milton Keynes, where it's very spread out, but there's loads of villages and people there, I would have thought that could have supported a Speedway team, but in the end the crowds dropped and that closed down as well. And I think almost every track I've gone to has closed down now, so this is well I've retired. There'll be nobody left.
So
hey, Bert, you still get around. You still. Sorry, John.
No, I was just going to say, was the closing of the track, and then was that coincided? Obviously, was it just a point then when you decided, look, I think it's time to hang up the leathers and call it a day?
Yeah, I mean, I'd enjoyed the whole career, and by that time I was probably not quite as quick as I should have been, so I didn't want to just go right downhill and then stop, so I thought I would stop while I was halfway down the hill, so that wasn't quite so bad.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have Kent Ridley perhaps finished at Edinburgh where it all started, and that would have been a nice tie-up to the story, actually.
Yeah.
It was pretty close. It was the second last season that I did it at Edinburgh. Yeah.
Well, you still get around all the tracks, and we still see you regularly at Armadale. Do you ever watch the boys racing, or do you ever look at that picture behind you there and wish that you were still doing it today, or you were still having a wee go on the bike?
No, I think I've enjoyed what I've done, and it's just too difficult a sport just to come and ride occasionally. You've got to be racing all the time and be right on top of it all. Otherwise, you can't just play at it. You've got to ride it pretty hard. But I'm happy with what I've done. Quite pleased with the career I've had. And, it could have been better. I could have got to a world final, but these things happen. So we can't all be world champions. But it's a great career actually. Yeah.
Yeah. You came back, obviously, the race had finished, but you got back on a bike for Barry Briggs and his Golden Greats and things like that. Right. Is that something do you think could be brought back by, we'll say, a rider who's fairly recently retired, and get some of the guys back on bikes? I'm sure there's plenty of Edinburgh fans who'd love to see the Peter Carrs of this world and all that back on a bike.
Yeah, we're quite sure. I mean, with a similar idea, that the guys that haven't retired too long ago, like Carr, Kenny McKenna, James Greaves, all these boys, if there's a meeting with these boys riding, then that would pull in the crowds too. The only thing, if you haven't ridden a Speedway bike for a long time, you still know what to do, but your body sometimes doesn't react quite as quickly as it should. So you have to be quite careful. In the Golden Greats that Brigo had, there's one or two of the boys did get injured just by trying too hard. But they were great events because the crowds were fantastic. They could see people they hadn't seen for years, like Ovi Funden, Barry Briggs, Ben Hansen, all these lads. And, they really filled the stadiums. So it would be good if you could see that to come back again with more modern riders.
Yeah.
Perhaps riding 2-valve Jawas or something. Yeah.
I remember being pretty young when they went to Powder Hall, and my dad, he was made up seeing all these guys that he'd seen years and years ago. So yeah, it was. And I was maybe a bit young to really appreciate it, but for like my dad, it was brilliant for him to see these guys back again, and it might be something for someone if they can get the dollar out and get these guys back on a bike. They probably want to make it worth their while, but it'd be good to see these guys back again.
Oh, it would be. I know that England's John Davis has been talking about that as well, so it may well happen what he's maybe next season. Can't see it happening this season, but perhaps you could get boys together for that. Yeah.
But when you came back to Powder Hall, what did it mean to you to get the captaincy of the team?
Yeah, I'm very pleased indeed, because that's what I really aimed to be. I was captain at Wembley. I was captain briefly at Edinburgh when Dougie sort of retired, and it was quite an honour to be appointed captain. So it meant a lot. And I always liked to be out. A lot of riders didn't like the Heat 1, the first race, and I always liked to be out in Heat 1 when the track was fresh and newly graded, and everybody was just going onto it for the very first time. And Heat 1 was always quite special for me. And I think with Edinburgh, when it got to the Heat 13, with usually the last heat decider, that was usually when maybe I had my best race, was the last heat actually. So,
having learned from all the older riders when you were a young rider at Meadowbank, was it important that you were there to help the young riders that were coming through as you were captain?
Yeah, I tried to help the other boys, yeah, but quite often they knew more than I did anyways. It's the blind leading the blind. But, no, I always, when I came in after the first heat, whether it was Wembley or Edinburgh, whatever, I'd always talk to the boys that were going out in the next race, just tell them what the track was like and what part of the track had the best grip or whatever. So you could always give a little bit more knowledge onto the others. Between for that to also beforehand the bike set up, the clutch and everything. So it's quite nice to have a bit of responsibility too. I quite enjoyed that. Yeah.
Bert, we're just about coming towards the end of the broadcast. What were the kind of career highlights for you then? As you look back on your career, what were the bits you say, I really loved that, and I really enjoyed that, and I loved riding with this guy? What were the kind of highlights for you?
It's difficult. It's probably quite a lot, actually. As you see with Wembley, walking out of the tunnel at Wembley was quite a special occasion because not many people have done that, really, and it's quite an atmosphere. Coming back to Edinburgh was also a special time for me as well. And things like when we had the Scotland versus Australia test match, and I managed to get an 18-point maximum, beating poor old Charlie Monk a couple of times. that was also quite special, especially as Scotland won anyway. So there's been a lot of highlights, and most of them, or a lot of them, are contained in here.
Good on you, Bert.
The crazy Speedway world of Bert Harkins. I've read that, Bert. It's a brilliant read.
Thank you very much. And could I just say thank you to Grant Crawford, who's one of the Monarchs fans, who's done this CD for me and sent that down. And it's like a Scottish jig. And if you can hear in the background, you can all join in.
You just need the black bear on there now.
Sorry, man.
That's like when I get in my car on a Saturday night after we've listened to Off the Ball. BBC Scotland come on the accordion.
Very good, very good.
Listen, Bert, it's been a pleasure. Before you go, I have to tell those that were that are watching, before we went on air, that picture of Bert behind him was actually of a tiger, and we let him know about this, and his wife actually came in, took the tiger down. We said, Bert, this is a Monarchs production here, we can't be having tigers. He takes it, puts a picture of himself up. Absolutely brilliant. So Bert, listen, the last hour has flown by. It's been an absolute pleasure. We could do this for probably another 2 or 3 hours. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I'm sure, like John, I could. Sorry, Bert. I'm sure John and I could listen to you all day. A lot of your stories are in that book. Do you want to remind people of where they can get a copy if they want to buy a copy of your book?
Yeah, on the plug. It's published by London League Publications, and their website or the email is llpshop.co.uk. But London League Publications, you can look it up on the website. But also, in case any of the older fans that are looking in don't quite recognise me, this is the way I used to look.
Bert, have you got any messages for the fans? Have you got any messages you'd like to put out to them before we finish?
Yeah, hopefully, I've got to say this off. I think I should have got committed. I think they got that idea from me. Yeah, I hope Speedway gets back running again this season, and I wish Monarchs and Tigers fans all the best for the season. And later in February, this is going to next year, the Scottish part of the WSRA have their annual dinner in Blether at Livingston, and I hope we can see a lot of the people there, which would be good because I'll be coming up for that too, which is good. So have a good rest of the season, and to any of the riders watching in, like Sam and the boys, all the best for the season, and I hope everything goes well. Thanks very much again for having me on, and I hope I didn't waste too much of your time.
Oh, Bert, the pleasure was absolutely all of us. Absolutely all of us. Listen, Bert, it's been absolutely brilliant. Like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You're a great character. Please never be a stranger at Armadale. We love seeing you there, and we love chatting to you there.
Yeah, I'll get up to Armadale as soon as I can, actually, just see how it's going.
Brilliant. Well, we'll be back. We'll see you on Friday for our next EMTV Rewind, and we'll be back with another guest, which we're just waiting for confirmation for next Sunday, and we'll join for another Sunday lunch. Bert, thank you so much. It's been brilliant.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks, Liam. Thank you.